and welcome to the Starting Line Podcast with me, Rich Lee. Today, I'm speaking to such an accomplished and prolific ultra-endurance athlete, he genuinely once forgot that he'd run across Iceland, not the supermarket. Alongside the ultra-endurance challenges he's tried and accomplished, Sean Conway, born in 1981, has been the subject of documentaries aired on Discovery and Amazon Prime, and he's an author and a motivational speaker. He was born in Zimbabwe in April 1981, making him 42 years of age. And as I say in the interview, I find it weird telling people back things they already know about themselves during it, so I'm just going to list a few highlights of what Sean's done for you right here. So, multiple world record holder Sean has cycled the length of Britain. He sailed the length of Britain. He swam the length of Britain. He cycled across Europe. He's run the length of Britain. Of course he has. He cycled from London to the Alps. Another time, he cycled around the world. And in perhaps his biggest challenge yet, and believe me, I've genuinely not even listed half of them, Sean recently broke the world record for the most consecutive Ironman triathlons in a row. He did an Ironman every single day for 105 days. Now, I can contextualise this in the interview with some actual figures, but I'll tell you here too. That means Sean swam 2.4 miles, and then, after that swim, he cycled 112 miles. And then, after that cycle, he ran a marathon. And he did that every day for 105 days. Ridiculous. I visited Sean in the beautiful rural North Wales, where he lives with his wife Caroline and their 2 young children. I was flying solo though. I was without Eddie, producer Eddie. I think it starts with us, with me just hopefully making sure that I've done the right thing, put the cables in the right places and turned all the right knobs. I don't know. I think we did the right thing. We chatted about life, his accomplishments, his drive, and believe me, there are not many people with the bloody and single-mindedness Sean has. Oh, and we speak about the challenge that got away. The 2009 Gloucester cheese roll, where if you haven't seen about cheese rolling, it's where people run / fall / break their legs down a 1-1 hill, chasing a rolling cheese. Go on, tell me that you don't still hear the hurt in his voice, the poor, poor man. Maybe that's why he's doing all of this. He came, I don't want to ruin it too much, but he came second, and he maintains the person that won cheated. All in all, this is an incredible interview with an incredible man. Somebody that's done things that most of us can only, dream of. Lots of people don't dream of this sort of thing. Sean, you're a different human being. As he said, he's very, very good at the long stuff. There aren't too many people that are going to challenge that record too soon, although Sean welcomes it. This isn't the interview where you're going to hear all about his diet and sleep and every single aspect of how he did the 105. This is more of a look at who he is. Who is the man that is Sean Conway? It is just a look at his life, what turned him into this ultra endurance athlete, and his mindset, which again is incredible. So thank you so much for your support, love, and appreciation for Mike McCarthy, the co-founder of the Battle of Hope, last episode. It's an incredibly powerful, as I say, an important conversation to be having, talking about suicide, and the Battle of Hope being the suicide prevention program that it is, the UK's biggest suicide prevention program. I just thought that it was important that we have that kind of conversation too. Anyway, go back, listen. And also, this is episode 10. Can you believe it? Episode 10. We're almost done with the first series. So if you're just joining us now and Sean has brought you to this little old podcast, we've been charting most weeks. We've had some incredible guests. And if you scroll back down, subscribe, listen to any and all, really proud of what we've put together so far. But that's everything we need to say up top. I think I'll be back with plugs and social things and all that good stuff after the episode. But for now, without further ado, I bring to you my conversation with Sean Conway. I guess when you've done any of your other around the world things, by the way, we're recording now, so we'll, Eddie, I hope this is good, man.
Eddie, he put the red cable on the right. Sorry, bro.
Is that good? Hang on, let's just check audio quality. Can you tell me, what time did you get up this morning?
I got up pretty late this morning, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6.
What time's normal?
5:29.
Of course it is. Yeah,
But
5:29.
we are going through a new sleep protocol with the boys because it's been too long now. They're crap sleepers, and we kept saying for years now, oh, they'll get better. I think we're broken now. So Caroline and I this week, literally, I decided this a few weeks ago. Right, Monday, new sleep program.
Is that them going down
boys.
earlier and then?
No, just being more strict with him overnight. Basically, the problem is they both wake up about 4 or 5 times a night still.
Yeah.
Caroline was up 3 times. We've now in different rooms so that I can deal with our eldest.
Yes.
In the main room, in our bedroom, and then Caroline's in with the youngest in his bedroom. So that, because what happens is like they would wake up each other.
One will wake the other up.
Yeah.
Were they in the same room before?
No.
But they just scream across them.
Yeah. The youngest was still feeding overnight, so he would be in the next to me bed, and then he would come in every night, and then they'd wake you. And he was just shattered. He was just shattered, the older one. So now when he gets up and he comes through, I sort of take him back to bed and try and explain to him that if he wants to grow big and strong, he has to sleep all night in his own bed because everyone else does it, his cousins do it, and you'll sleep better, and blah blah blah. And he's sort of getting the idea.
How does that work in terms of, what do you call them? Do you challenges, adventures, events?
Yeah, I mean they tend to get called adventures, but I cringe at the word adventurer and adventures. Yeah, challenges. Yeah, records. They all got records attached to them mostly. Otherwise, just personal challenges.
I guess you've had your kids in the last few years where you did loads and loads. I mean, you've done so many since 2012. We were saying you've done so many in 2009 in the cheese rolling.
Yeah, there's my certificate.
There it is.
The bottom there. Yeah. Second place. Damn it!
You came second. Was it that kid that wins every year?
So there's 5 races. He was in the first race.
Right.
And then I got in the second race because you have to queue up super early. Like, I was queuing at 8 a.m. for a midday start.
Right.
And got in the second race. The third race is girls only. All the races is anyone, so I think girls and boys can do any of them, but it's mainly men. To this cheese rolling because it's a stupid idea. The middle one's girls only, and then 4 and 5 is anyone again. And then they still carry on the races, but there's no cheese after that. And I wanted to get one with the cheese, because you win the cheese if you come first. Anyway, so the guy who always wins wasn't in my race, but the guy who did win false started, which, I'm so annoyed, like, because they go 3, 2, 1, and on 1 they roll the cheese, and then on go you're meant to go. So the cheese has a head start, and he went with the cheese.
He went with the cheese.
And I'm stood there going, what? You should see this YouTube clip. I'm like 20 meters behind him. Because I stupidly, in that moment of panic, I was like, oh, they're going to tell him to come back and we're going to restart the race. I was like, of course they're not. The cheese is gone, man. So,
but at least 14 years later, you're not resentful or upset about this.
Yeah, no. It's the only one I'd never do again.
Really?
Yeah, I'd do all of them again.
I live in Gloucester and I've never done it and I'd never do it.
Yeah.
I don't know why somebody would. Why would
crazy.
you?
I don't know. I was at that. It was 2009. It was that sort of
How old
2008.
are you then? So you're 42 now, right?
Yeah, I was 28, I guess. This May bank holiday, April, May. Yeah, sort of just turned 28.
Was it after a few, or was this complete? No, actually, 8 o'clock in the morning. So this isn't a drunken decision. This is a
no. I decided weeks before because my mum lives in Cheltenham, so I'd seen the hill a million times. Yeah, just was like, right, well, I've got to have a crack. Got to have a crack at it. It's so steep.
Yeah, I know. I've stood at the bottom of it. I've stood at the bottom of it looking up. I mean, is it a 1-1? I think it's
more than a 1-1 at the top.
Yeah.
So it starts off almost vertical. Like the first bit, you're up there and you're like, this is a wall. Like this is just vertical. And then it's sort of near the end tapers out a bit. But
that's funny. The only one you'd never do again. You got injured, didn't you?
Yeah. So I ruptured the capsule in my left shoulder and then tore some back muscles. Yeah, but the shoulder was bad. Like that was 2 years before I had full mobility on that, and I can still feel it now. And my left shoulder is really bad, especially for swimming. I just have a terrible stroke in like that. So I'm right side dominant, which then leads to a whole host of other issues, which is annoying. But sort of nothing I can do about it.
Your mum lives in Cheltenham, and you grew up in Zimbabwe.
I was born in Zimbabwe, and I did grow up there a little bit, but I moved to South Africa when I was quite young, and then spent most of my memorable childhood years in South Africa.
Right, so are your folks Zimbabwean?
My parents are Zimbabwean. My grandparents on my dad's side are Zimbabwean. Mum's sides are English. Great-grandparents on dad's side are Irish.
When did you move to South Africa?
Early 80s, so I don't remember the year. 84 maybe.
Right, so you'd have been like 3.
Yeah, I was very young.
So do you have memories of Zimbabwe?
Yeah, because we used to go back every year for holiday.
Oh, cool. So family's still there?
Yeah, lots of family, and they still are. My cousins who are my age are still there.
What prompted the move?
Without trying to get too political, but when Mugabe came into power, things got difficult very quickly for certain types of people. Farmers are one of them. We weren't farmers. But the other thing that got difficult was my dad worked for national parks, and Mugabe saw the national parks sort of, even though they're government, but they were still full of people from the old days. He saw them as an army because they were all armed, So my dad and all his rangers, you can imagine him having this meeting, like someone had did you know there are 5,000 people working for parks? If they decided to join an army or start an army, they could overthrow us, and they've got lots of guns and things. So he just made life difficult for park rangers. We lived on the Zambezi River, and Zambia was on the other side. And because Mugabe gave power to a lot of people who wanted the British out, basically, it was sort of a free-for-all, My dad would be sitting, and they'd do pot shots at his house with AK-47s.
Just to try and scare
fun. Because they knew no one would come after them anymore.
Were you there at the time?
So that was like a couple of years before I was born. Dad's house got torpedoed.
Torpedoed?
Yeah, like someone just had a freaking torpedo gun and just shot the house. He wasn't there, luckily. He came home one day. There was a hole in the wall. Built a bomb shelter under the house just in case. There was landmines being put around in the game reserve and stuff. Like, I remember there was, again, just before I was born, but I don't know where they were from, but it's just a tourist visit, looking for animals in the game reserve, went over a landmine. So there was that. And then what I do remember, though, is we had grenade screens on our windows. So grenade screen, you can still open the window. So it's just a box with heavy fencing to stop grenades getting thrown through your window. And then we also had, but we never really used them, but we used to have bullet screens. So they're thick armored plated steel, which you would fold up from the bottom of the window, so that when you were sitting down on the sofa, someone who wanted to shoot you, your head was below this armored screen. And in the daytime, so it wouldn't cover the whole window, just half the window. And in the daytime, you fold it back down. But so I remember those, but I don't remember ever having them up.
I guess if people are getting shot at and getting grenades thrown at them and things like that, then people did die. And
oh god, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Again, without getting too political, the British government, when they gave power to the Zimbabwean people in 1966, I'm going to get this wrong, but nothing changed. They all stayed in government, and they're like, oh yeah, well we've got independence now, but all the British just sort of stayed in government. So obviously the Zimbabweans were like, whoa, this is not good. And then that was the warfare that happened, And then eventually the white British government said, yeah, you're probably right. You guys, you should have your country back.
Keep going.
Yeah, here's your country back because you deserve it because we stole it from you 200 years ago, like the British did everywhere else. And yes, and even I remember my dad even telling me afterwards, he's like, I don't know why they just didn't give it to them in 66.
Yeah.
Like, it would have stopped a hell of a lot of bloodshed and animosity and resentment and everything. So anyway, 80 came along, Mugabe went into power, and everyone thought he was great, actually.
Really?
Yeah, even he was young and we're going to bring Zimbabwe to the new age and whatever. But then he went mad and
absolute power corrupts, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
but depends who you ask, really. And I agree. I think he was an awful person. However, there's a lot of people who've benefited from him being in power. People who were enslaved to the British for hundreds of years, and their families lost land and stuff. So I'm quite sort of, I'm not very emotional about talking about it. I know the facts. There was British did some bad stuff to the whole world, but also Mugabe and his government also did some very bad stuff. So,
do you have siblings?
Yeah, I got a sister. Yeah, she's
sister
younger than me, 2.5 years younger. So she was. So I think that instigated the move. I think my mum was pregnant again, and was like, "I'm not bringing up a daughter," or in this environment where just life was difficult.
And where did you move in South Africa then?
So we moved to some game reserves. Where did we move first? False Bay, then Ndumu. Then we spent most of my childhood that I can remember, because then I was 5 or 6, in Shihlui and Umfolozi game reserves up on the east coast, up towards Mozambique. And it was awesome. Yeah. I loved it, yeah.
Did you feel the racial tensions that were...
No, not in South Africa. No, because we lived in Zululand. We were heavily sort of embedded into the Zulu culture. I spoke Zulu. I felt Zulu, pardon me. I felt part of me.
Do you still remember Zulu?
Sort of. I can understand people who talk it, but I've lost the vocab now. It'll come back
Right.
pretty quickly. But yeah, I'd get better marks at Zulu than the Zulu kids at my school, because I could write it and read it and stuff, whereas they only just ever spoke it. And also they probably didn't try because they're like, this is my language, I don't need to work.
So your dad essentially did the same job back in
Identical
South Africa.
job, yeah. So he's a rhino and elephant conservationist.
Okay.
So mainly focusing on those two species, mainly rhino, because they need the most help. Elephants don't really need that much help.
And what did your mum do?
So she worked also within the game park. So they got divorced when I was 10, by which time I was shipped off to African farm school. So because there's no schools near us in the game reserve, so you had to sort of just...
Was that you stay at the school?
Yeah, boarding school.
It was a boarding school.
Yeah. There's no option, and in fact, almost all schools in South Africa are boarding. They were at the time.
Oh, okay.
Because they're so far away from anywhere. Like, if they had to be not boarding, they'd get no kids because they're out in the sticks. So.
And are your folks still with us?
Yeah. My mum's in Cheltenham still. My dad's in South Africa. My sister's still in South Africa.
Do you get over much?
Try to. It's cost prohibitive going over just to see my dad, really. So, and my sister, of course. But so I'd rather get him to come here, to be fair.
And I guess his grandkids being here, it's easier for him.
Exactly.
To travel.
I'd rather pay for his flight to come over than
four of
us
you
now. So, and the kids are too young to appreciate Africa, so we want to sort of do a proper job of it.
Yeah.
Maybe in like 6 or 7 years' time when they can remember.
When did your mum move to Cheltenham? And why Cheltenham?
She got a job there. She's a carer. She was a live-in carer for the elderly, and there was an agency there. So she moved in 2002, similar time to when I moved here.
Right, okay. So you came not long after, same time, so...
Yeah, so we all were just going to come for a bit. I came first, I think, in the February. My sister came a few months later. My mum came a few months later. All just to spend a year earning pounds and then take it back to Africa type thing. And then we all sort of got stuck. My sister then moved back about 10 years ago. Yeah, so that was 2002. Yeah, and then she landed in Cheltenham and she's been there ever since.
Yeah. So when you came, you didn't go straight to Cheltenham, did you? I think you went to Cambridge.
Yeah, literally. So I had no money. So I sold everything I had to buy the flight to London.
Why? Why? I mean, were you not happy in South Africa? Like, what made you want to come over?
So when I finished high school, I was into photography. And then I went to photography college for a 1-year intense course. So 5 days a week, sort of 9 a.m. till 1 o'clock lecture, or 12 o'clock lectures, 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock practical. 5 days a week. So none of the sort of uni where it's 1 or 2 hours a week, 1-year course. And then I stayed on for a second year being an assistant lecturer at the college. And then after that year, I was like, right, well, now it's time to be a working photographer, I guess. And at the exact same time, because our years run January to December, all my mates who decided to take a gap year from school and do the 2-year thing in the UK. So you could come and at that time, I don't know what the rules are now, but I'm pretty sure you got a 2-year work visa. But anyway, after 2 years, you get kicked out. And they were all on South African passports, and they were coming home going, oh my God, I've just spent 2 years in the UK. It was amazing. I got to travel all over Europe and earning pounds and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, I wonder, really? Can it be that good? So, and I have an Irish passport. So I was like, well, I've just got this Irish passport. Nothing's stopping me going. And I was like, well, let me just go and see what they were talking about. Finished my studies. I need to get a job. So I've worked out that there was this cabbage or a salad making factory in Cambridgeshire and Ely. Again, had no money. So yeah, sold everything to buy the ticket. I had 100 quid left over. I remember got to Heathrow early, caught the tube into Victoria, found Victoria coach station, jumped on a coach for 20 quid or whatever it was to Ely, then caught a taxi. I remember being 6 quid and going, oh my God, that's the most expensive taxi I've ever taken in my whole life. 6 quid to the farm, got to the farm at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and my shift started at 3 o'clock that afternoon.
Right, wow. Not even time to drop your bags and...
Just living in dorms. But you're travelling, I was 20.
Yeah,
whatever.
It's great, right?
Yeah.
Why Cambridge, though? Were you thinking it's kind of close enough to London from a photography perspective, or just that's where the job was?
When I done a bit of research on what type of jobs I could get from South Africa. You got to find companies that are willing to hire South Africans.
Right, okay.
Basically. The Irish passport helped a bit, but they were all catered for employing foreigners, basically. So... Right. In this factory was probably 80% Bulgarians and 20% South Africans. For whatever reason. No idea. Absolutely no idea.
Why photography? I guess if your dad is a rhino and elephant specialist, you've probably seen some pretty incredible things from a young age.
Exactly that.
So I guess is that what took you to photography? And thought other people need to see this?
No, I don't know. So, well, I'll tell you what it was. At school, there was this kid called Cameron Barnes. He had a crappy little. It was basically a disposable camera, but you could put new film in it.
Right.
And it looked like a camera. So it was this black box with a lens thing, but it had no exposure or shutter or anything. All you could change on the front dial was if it was sunny, cloudy, or dark.
Right. Okay.
So you had a sort of 3 exposure settings on the front. And that was it. Nothing else. No focusing, no nothing. But it looked like a real camera. I remember him getting it, and then months later, I was like, Cameron, what are you doing with... You remember that camera you had? It looked cool, man. What are you doing with it? He said, I don't know. It's in my drawer somewhere. I said, I'll swap you for a bag of sweets. And I had this bag of sweets. And he's like, yeah, go on then. So I gave him the bag of sweets, and he gave me this camera. And I was like, cool. Bought a roll of film. I just went and just took some pictures. Like, well, whatever. I don't know. I wasn't really thinking much, but I was sort of obviously captivated by the idea somehow.
How old are you at this point?
11.
Right.
But there was zero interest in career of it. I just liked the idea. And I remember I took some pictures and I sent them off to you. You take them to the pharmacy. I don't know if that was a thing in the UK.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So same in South Africa. You went to the farm. I don't know why pharmacy.
No, God knows. No.
Why that was the thing. But anyway, took it to the pharmacy. They would send it off wherever they sent it, and it took about 2 weeks. And I remember it came back, and I remember the pharmacy nurse going, "Wow, Sean, those are really good pictures." And that was it. It just took some random positive compliment from a nurse who knew nothing about photography, and I was hooked.
That's incredible. I love that. In almost every interview so far, there's been that one person.
Yeah.
An impressionable age, when somebody compliments you and you feel like, okay, well, cool. I'm good at that then. What was your kind of family like? Were your parents quite supportive? If you
massively, yeah. My parents never wished anything on me. They never
tried to push you into a different direction or
nothing. No, they just let me do my thing. I mean, I wasn't at home a lot, so I went to boarding school when I was 9. I was sort of brought up by my peers and teachers.
Yeah.
And holidays were then just holidays.
And I guess it was the same as it is here, in that there's one big summer holiday.
No, and there's 4 semesters.
Right.
Your longest break, I think, was 5 weeks. Might have been 6 weeks over Christmas, which is summer. The longest I never saw my parents was probably 4 weeks, maybe.
Okay, quite a close family. When you did go back, did you feel?
Yes. But then my parents got divorced at 10 when I was 10, so then it was sort of split holidays and stuff. So, and then I didn't have any cousins growing up as well, so we sort of just kept ourselves really, because there wasn't. We just didn't have a big family in South Africa because the family just were everywhere. From when they left Ireland, really, in England.
How did you cope with the divorce? Do you think you did all right?
Yeah, boarding school fixed it, really, because I just didn't really see any, if anything, I got double the amount of presents.
so for you, it was something positive?
I think so. I mean, there must have been some trauma, like a 10-year-old seeing it. But, so I went to boarding school at 7, but not full boarding. I'd come home on the weekend. So I was weekly boarder from 7, and then from 9, full boarder. So, yeah, I'd already been at boarding school a couple of years. So it's not like all of a sudden I was home every night and now Mummy or Daddy weren't around.
And did your mum? So your mum stuck around close, I guess, in South Africa, nearby.
From 10 till about 13 or 14. No, they lived 3 or 4 hours apart.
Wow, okay.
My mum remarried. No, maybe not 4 hours. Maybe 2 hours. Maybe 2 hours apart. And then from I think it was 14 or 15, they then just by coincidence landed up living in the same town. So that was quite convenient actually, because you could sort of walk from one house to the other, but it was close enough to sort of be at Dad's in the afternoon and Mum's in the morning or something.
What I was wondering was just whether or not the split meant then that holidays for you became a one or the other kind of.
No, it was 50-50. So it was literally the first 2 weeks at Dad, the second 2 weeks at Mum.
Okay.
Going back to your question, I don't think I got affected too much by it. Maybe it made me a little bit more stoic, I guess, which has worked for me, I think.
Seemingly. Yeah. I mean, has it changed the way that you think about your own family?
Boarding school, I'd never send my kids to boarding school. No, I want those evenings around the dinner table, and I want the weekends to go and teach them stuff and learn stuff and do stuff together. It wasn't an option for my parents because there was no school near where they lived. I'm not holding anything against them, and the schools I went to were awesome. I had good fun, but I couldn't do that.
Were you sporty?
Yeah. I did sport because you had to,
yeah.
And I got okay at canoeing, but no, I was terrible at everything else.
So do you think your teachers now, to know your achievements, do you think they'd be surprised?
I don't think they would have even remembered me at school. I think
were you that kind of quieter kid?
Yeah, I just kept to myself.
Do you have many friends?
Not really. Not really. Even now, I'm not really. I'm a bit of a loner. I'm quite happy with that. Caroline hates it. She, like, every time we go to like a kids' party, I get a pep talk. Sean,
You will speak to
you
people.
have to speak to people. You can't just go in the corner and sit by yourself. I actually failed preschool because of that. When I first went to nursery, I'd just sit in the corner by myself, and then they were like, "Yeah, he's not ready for proper school," so I had to
You're
stay back a
always
year.
that quieter kid. Like, did you
Yeah.
occupy yourself with things like reading or drawing? Or
Yeah, I was always making things. Yeah, whether it was sort of anything, just making stuff, making forts, making sandcastles, like
Right, so it wasn't kind of tiny,
Lego.
like it wasn't like arts and crafts necessarily. It was
oh,
bigger.
flitted. Yeah, I'm terrible. Even now, I have a million hobbies.
What sort of things do you do now?
Classic car restoration, woodwork. Got my vegetable garden, which I consider a hobby. Knife making. Yeah, building woodwork, but like building sort of stuff, anything that needs to be built out of wood. I quite enjoy
You got
making.
many things in your house that you've built.
It's not really. It probably wouldn't be furniture. No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
not like furniture. Just like other random things. Like if we need something particular. So my wife has a wedding card business, and she needs trays for the back so that you can put a champagne bottle and a couple of wine glasses. So that's the kind of stuff that I get into. And I got into it quite young. I'm just trying to see this. Yeah, there we go. I made this even when I was 5. I think I was 10. Made a baseball bat for my mum to bash the baddies. So it's a wooden baseball bat, which is about 18 inches long. That made out of wood on a lathe.
When you were 10,
When I was 10, yeah.
I mean, it looks every
It's
inch
bent a bit
the
now.
baseball bat. I mean, it's
Over time,
fantastic.
it's warped a bit. I haven't done it for ages, unless there's something that needs building.
I can see up there as well cameras that say Conway camera.
Yeah, I discovered them years ago.
As in, they're a company called Conway Cameras.
Oh yeah, 100 years ago. Yeah.
That's
Those old
amazing.
box cameras, like a box brownie. That's what.
How funny then that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I found them. I went on eBay and just bought a whole bunch of them because I thought it was cool.
I'm now menacingly holding a baseball bat, so I should.
Don't ask me the wrong question.
No, exactly. Yeah. So you're in the UK. You are making money in Cambridge, chopping lettuce.
Lettuces, yeah.
Yeah, and it's some distance from there to where you are now. So, like, take me from you're in that factory or on that farm. How long did you do that for?
So after about a month, I saved up 600 quid. I thought, well, that's enough.
That's a lot of lettuces.
It's a lot of lettuce. £5.70 something an hour, I think. Living in the dorm, free food though as well. So you've got to save quite a bit. So I saved 600 quid, I remember, and I thought, well, that's probably enough to go to London and try and make a plan.
Was photography the plan?
Photography was the plan. So there was 2 people who had been in the factory, South Africans, who had moved to London the week before, and they had sort of messaged me saying, we've got this room share, not even flat share, room share in Finchley Road, North London. Do you want to come up? Actually, no, before that, my cousin lived in Richmond and said, come down and stay for a week and see if you can find your feet. So I stayed with him for a week.
So you had cousins in Ireland and England, not over in South Africa?
I had some in South Africa.
Oh, you
as
did?
well.
Right.
Yeah. So actually, this was one of the South African cousins. So this is on my mum's side.
Right, okay.
So I had two cousins, Amber and Richard. This was Richard. So my mum's sister's kids. He was in London, and he said, "Oh, come stay with us a week, see if you can find a job and whatever." So stayed with him for a week. Couldn't find a job. Then reached out to these 2 other people who had been in the factory with me, and they were in this room share up in Finchley Road. So, and when I say a room, it's not much bigger than this room. This shed in my garden. So 5 meters by 3 meters, somewhere there.
The 3 of you?
No, there's 7 of us.
Jesus.
7 of us. So they're like, because we were just all trying to save money, really.
Yeah.
And if you could fit an extra person on the floor somewhere, we're all saving 10 quid a week. So it was 30. I remember it was 30 quid a week, and there was a bunk bed here, a double bed there, and then 3 people on the floor. You know what? It was smaller than this room. Yeah, with the bunk bed and a double bed, you could genuinely only fit 3 people on the floor. So I had the bottom bunk, and there was another guy on the top bunk, and then there was a married couple, again South Africans. We're all South Africans in the double bed, and then these 3 guys on the floor. It was basically a squat that we paid for. I think the landlord was just like, well, I'm not going to kick them out eventually, because I think it just been this for years.
All shared kitchen, shared bathroom.
Oh god, yeah. So it was a single bed sit, and then it had a tiny little kitchenette off the side, and then a shower toilet on the other side of it.
I mean, would that be legal? Is that
probably not? No, I was tiny, and it only had a window with a small top sort of window, like a tiny one. So honestly, we didn't have enough oxygen. We'd wake up with a headache, like seven.
I mean, you're just on top of each other there.
Yeah, but
so you weren't financially supported by your parents in any way in that
money.
sense. They didn't have any money to get you
money either. So that's why I never did a gap year after school either, because there was just no physical way. Dad's a game ranger, you know.
Is that not a well-paid job? Forgive me for right.
No,
okay,
not in Africa. No, not at his level. By the end of his career, he was in rands. It was okay, but nowhere near enough to, let their son go and.
So to send money over to you for going,
no, I mean, Mum did. I think after a while, Mum managed to save a bit of money, and I think she managed to give me £1,000 at one point because I needed some photography kit. So that was amazing. So Mum was super supportive on everything, really.
What kind of photography did you want to get into?
Well, I wanted to be a National Geographic photographer, so obviously I wasn't going to go straight into that. So I applied for a bunch of jobs. One of them was called the London Dungeons, which was this like spooky experience.
I've done the London Dungeons.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I know it.
And there's photographers in there.
Yeah, right. Getting you as you're scared, right?
Yeah.
So you got the actors. As the setup is essentially you go through effectively a one-way system, and actors jump out at you, and people take photos. You would have taken photos.
Yeah, well, I didn't get the job.
Right.
Yeah, I applied for that. And then I applied for a couple of commercial jobs, and I was too young. There's no way anyone would hire a 20-year-old.
We're talking kind of headshot stuff, just basic corporate or...
No, product stuff, actually.
Right.
So, like, a company that specialised in, like, catalogue stuff for products.
Right,
basically, and high-end brochures and things like that, which I was quite good at. I was quite good at studio lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Lighting was a strong point of mine. And then I was like, well, I need to earn, so let me at least do something that is somewhat in photography. So... on Finchley Road, there was a photo lab called Snappy Snaps. The green and yellow, I think it's black and yellow now, but it was green and yellow Snappy Snaps. And I walked past and they said, we do digital, because it was 2002. Digital was really early and the buzzword for everything. They said, we do digital. So I walked in, I said, can I speak to the manager or whatever? And this guy called Simon, who owned the shop, said, oh yeah, that's me. I said, I see you do digital. Like, I'm pretty good at Photoshop and I can do digital. I was wondering if you have any jobs. And he's like, oh, yeah, maybe. He's like sort of quite a busybody. He's like, yeah, okay, well, maybe. Mickey, and he shouted to Mickey, this guy says he can do Photoshop. See if he can. So Mickey was like, oh, okay, come here, mate. And then he said, right, here's a passport picture he gave me. He said, this person wants their reading glasses removed from the passport picture. Can you scan it into Photoshop, take the glasses out, and like, let's just see if you can do that. And I was like, oh yeah, well, I know how to scan. So I got the scanner out, put it on, did the scanning, opened up the scan utility, pressed scan, chose the right resolution and size, asked him all the right questions about, right, how big does he want it printed? Right, that big, okay, so we'll scan it at this resolution. Imported it into Photoshop, did some color grading, did the healing brush and the stamp tool back then, which I don't even know if those two tools exist.
I think they do still are.
Anyway, did that, took the rim of the glasses out and stuff. And then, it took about half an hour. And Mickey was like, oh, you can do this, man. I was like, yeah, I know.
I told you I could.
And then I remember him shouting over to Simon. He's like, yeah, he's pretty good, Simon. And then Simon literally went to me, he's like, cool, do you want to start now? I was like, what? I was like, can I go and grab some lunch? He's like, yeah, go grab some lunch. Come back. I have a shirt ready for you. And literally I started that afternoon.
That's brilliant. So you just walked into a shop?
Randomly at about
fantastic.
12 o'clock. I was about midday. And then at around 1 o'clock, after I, maybe 12:30, he's like, yeah, do you want the job? And then I went out and there was a Waitrose over the road.
Was you treating yourself then?
That's all. That was the only option, to be fair. And got a sandwich, came back, put a shirt on, and started that afternoon. And then worked 5 days a week for not very long, actually. And then I moved up to 6 days a week.
Right.
Just because I needed extra money.
And how long were you at Snappy Snaps?
In total, 6 years.
Wow, okay, so we're talking...
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, good chunk of time.
I started off 6 days a week, worked my way down to 5, and I think I'd gone just to about 4 days a week when my flat got broken into in London, and everything got stolen. All my camera gear, my laptop, everything. And that was 6 months in. And I was like, right, well, I've got stole over again. It'd take me years to buy that kit. So I went back to Simon and said, can I go back to 6 days a week, mate? He's like, yeah, okay, fine. So 6 days a week, worked.
So I'm going to guess you didn't get any of that stuff back.
No, police came, fingerprinted the whole
They do the whole thing. They make it look like they're doing something, but it's like...
Yeah, no, nothing.
Yeah.
No. And then worked another year, probably at 6 days a week, and then 5 days a week, 4 days a week. And then James, landed up being my business partner, who I met. He was British, but we met at photography college in South Africa. He had left South Africa and come back to Britain, come back to London and said, right, let's fancy starting a photography company together. I'd never really thought about it. I was like, oh, well, actually, it could be cool being a partnership rather than being on your own, shared skills, shared kit, shared everything. And he's like, yeah, brilliant. So then we moved into, God, I just remember the time frames here. Moving from house share to house share, I once rented the space behind the sofa in a house share. Yeah. Like, honestly, it was a 3-bedroom, semi-detached, one up, one down. I think there was like 12 of us.
Right.
In this house share.
All South Africans or?
South Africans, Kiwis and Aussies.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Where was this?
In Brent Cross.
Right.
Yeah, up in Brent Cross. Hamilton Road. I want to say 147 Hamilton. There's even a Facebook page. It's so famous now, this house share squat thing. And I lived there twice, 2 years apart. And I remember the second time I moved in, both times behind the sofa. So there was a gap, like a half-meter gap between the sofa and the wall. And it was, again, 30 quid a week for that space. I had like my suitcase at the bottom of my feet, basically. And just had to have earplugs and an eye mask type thing to sleep because people watch TV late. People had night shifts to come in and watch TV at midnight and whatever. I
mean, and you're in your 20s and you're in London.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say people are dating. People are...
Oh, God, yeah. I don't know how that happened with people. I wasn't dating, but yeah, it was... it's weird. The second time was like, I have got nowhere in life. It's 2 years later and I'm back behind the bloody sofa. And and then James moved to London and then we decided, so we rented a 1-bedroom flat together. He had the bed, because he had a girlfriend, so he got the bedroom and I was in the living room. And then, but I couldn't afford...
On the sofa?
No, it was going to be on the sofa, but then I was walking, like, it must have been a week after we'd moved in, and I had been sleeping on the sofa. And I knew that wasn't long term, like, it was super uncomfortable, but I just couldn't afford to buy a bed. So I remember walking past Skip, and there was a single bed and mattress in the Skip. So I remember running back to the house. I was like, dude, we've got to get this bed and mattress before someone else does. No one was ever going to take that bed and mattress. Like, it would have been there for another week. But in my head, I was like, we found the jackpot, mate. So I remember him. It was one of those divan bed bases as well. The big, thick, fat ones, right? Yeah. So he's like, brilliant. So we ran down the road, and then I'm carrying this mattress on my head, and he's carrying the bed base, which I think was in 2 pieces, actually. And, so hoovered it. Sprayed a bit of bleach on it.
A little bit of Febreze done. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Why not? So I at least had a bed just in the corner. It was quite a big living room, to be fair. So I had the bed in the corner. So that was cool. And this was, this was pre-wireless internet even. So if I wanted to check my emails, I had to unplug the bloody cable, plug it into my laptop. And then, it probably wasn't. We probably could have got a wireless router back then. In fact, we almost certainly could have, but that was 50 quid. Whatever. It's like, well, I can just,
So you and James went into business together?
Yeah, we went into business together. And a couple of jobs we did in the early days were great, actually. Like, we got a couple of because we both wanted to do outdoor travel photography.
Right.
So we did a couple of catalogue shoots, like one in India, one in Morocco.
So people paying you to go out there?
Photograph, yeah. So we'd go out with a couple of models usually. Usually the marketing director. That was it, really. And sometimes someone else from the company. And they would have all the products they needed to sell for the following season. And we would take photos and they would land up in the catalogue that they would then send to whoever, to stores for people to buy. And it was fun.
Do you remember which catalogues?
Yeah, so Life Venture was the main...
What one, sorry?
Life Venture.
Life Venture, okay.
They make rucksacks and things like that. Then there's Little Life was their kids brand.
All right, so it was kind of like travel products.
Travel products,
right?
yeah,
Okay, brilliant.
rucksacks and first aid kits and compasses and kettles and pots and stuff like that. And it was good fun. And then I also got a part-time gig working on the Harry Potter films in the stills department.
Doing what?
Stills, helping out the stills. So the stills on a movie set, he does all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Then he also does the shots that they'll potentially use for press and PR. Actual shots which replicate the camera angle. So at the end of a take, he might then go in and they'll do one take for him.
Right.
And he'll stand where the cameras were. Otherwise, he's at a different angle.
That makes sense.
And he was pretty Murray Close, amazing photographer.
Right.
Any with nail and eye picture you can ever imagine will be his. That famous Mission Impossible shot of Tom Cruise hanging, looking sideways at the low angle, that was his. He's done all the John Wick films at the moment, so
cool.
he's amazing. Yeah, he's a very good photographer.
So what were you doing were you an assistant to?
To him, helping convert the studio from slide film to digital.
Right.
Because they initially were shooting slide film, getting the slide film developed in Watford, posting the slide film to LA to get scanned.
Right.
And then the JPEGs or TIFF files or whatever they wanted would come back, and with contact sheets, which I know would take weeks.
Isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
Just how much things will move on.
And also, it's crazy. Why send it to LA?
That's the thing.
There's hundreds
I'm sure
of places
there's
in London
somebody
could have done
great.
that job. Yeah. And, so anyway.
So were you, on the films, did you travel with them? So
most of those films are shot on set.
Yeah.
It's all fake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do like a week up in Scotland, I think.
Bit of time in Gloucester as well?
Yeah. But most of them are shot in the studios. And it was incredible. Like, you'd go into a studio the size of a football pitch, and they'd built a forest. And you're looking at it, and you're like, that's a legit forest. And you go up to and you tap on it, and it's just paper mache. They built a lake, like a fake lake. And I'm like, where'd you get all the water, mate? And he's like, it's not water, it's painted. I was like, you're joking. These artists were incredible. So they painted the lake with water, and then they just got a smoke machine, put it flat on the edge of the painted cardboard, basically, and let out some smoke, which would then trickle slowly over the top of the lake. And even to the eye, it looked real.
That's crazy.
So on film, it's going to 100% look real.
So how did you get the gig at Harry Potter?
That's quite a good story, actually. I was in a pub with my mate, Arif, and he knew a guy who knew Murray Close, the photographer. So we got chatting. Eventually, and I'm chatting with Murray, and I've had a couple of too many Guinnesses now, and so I was, oh, what do you do? Oh, I work for Warner Brothers. Oh, cool. What do you do, Sean? Oh, yeah, I'm working at Snappy Snaps. Oh, what do you do there? Oh, yeah, I'm pretty good on Photoshop, and I just do Photoshop for people and things. He's like, oh, I'd really love to learn Photoshop, and I really need to. Do you think you could help me? I was like, yeah, mate, I'm the best in the world. Just give me a call. And I wrote my number on a napkin and, pissed, gave it to him. I remember waking up in the morning going, oh, God, I've blown it. I had one of the best sort of film photographers, and I just blew it. Anyway, blew me down a couple of weeks later. He's like, hey, mate, yeah, fancy coming in and converting my setup from film to digital, from slide film to digital. I was like, yes. I went in. I was still thinking in rands, where everything's so expensive. So I go to Murray and I was like, right, well, if you wanted, you could get this camera, but this one's a bit better. And, if you wanted, you get this printer, but, this one's... And he's like, mate, just tell me the best I need. Like, just do it. Just tell me. Just tell me the best. I was like, okay, well, this is the camera you want, the EOS Mark 1 or whatever it was at the time, because he shot Canon. And then you want this big printer, and we're talking A1 size printers. Right. Then you want this digital scanner, the Nikon Cool Scan, I think it was called, top of the range. You want the smaller printer, which will do your contact sheets. And I think I remember the bill was like, he was jotting it down and looking at prices and just writing on a piece of paper. And at the end, I remember drawing a line. It's like £25,000, and I'm just like, firstly, I just looked at the figure and I was like, there's no way. Like, why would your system, there's no one getting that. Like, that's not going to happen. Anyway, literally 2 days later, I was like, yeah, it's all been paid for, done. Yeah, sweet. It'll all arrive in the next couple of weeks. Do you want to come in once a week and just teach me how to do it? So yeah, I basically taught him a bit of Photoshop, taught him scanning, creating contact sheets, all that sort of thing, and did that for 2 years for the third film. Do
you have any interaction with the cast? Director?
Not really. You're not actually allowed to talk to the...
You're not?
No, yeah, that's in the contract, yeah.
Really?
You will not talk to talent, yeah. Yeah, that's... Yeah. When I had my Discovery Channel stuff, it was so weird. Like, I'd go in for a bit of PR photography at Discovery headquarters in London, and a crew of 10 would come in, and not one of them would even look at me until I talked to them, and then they could talk to me. And I'm like, what? I remember this being speaking to my agent at the time, I was like, "Can we just get rid of that contract?" And they're like, "No, that's just
It's a
how they
really
work."
weird aspect, isn't it?
Such a weird
I think I was going to say then I can kind of understand it. I don't know if I can. I don't know like what.
No, I can sort of get it. There are 200 people on film set.
Yeah.
Easily.
So if everybody tried to,
if you're the
talk to
actor
you,
and you're in the zone and you're trying to do your thing,
yeah,
the last thing you want is an extra who's there. This is his moment. Because with extras, sometimes you're short of extras. So you've got mates and mates who are extras who are not part of any extras agency. They're just there because there was a big scene and their mate who is an extra was told to bring some friends. So now they're there on set with Blimmin' Harry Potter. God damn, I'm going to talk to him.
Yeah. No,
so
all right, fair enough.
So I sort of get why they have to sort of make that rule.
Yeah.
So actually, I became quite good friends with Dan's stunt double.
Right. No way.
Because the kids could only work 3 hours a day, or 3.5 hours a day filming. So they had to do an hour. They had to do school, 3 hours of school or whatever it was. They had to have a 15-minute break every hour or something. They had to have an hour's lunch. They had to makeup and stuff was an hour. So and they child actors can't work past 7 o'clock at night.
Right. Okay.
So what they would do is, almost half the film is the doubles. Any wide
shots from behind, any wide shots,
anything
like that.
Yeah, anything. That vertical shot of them running through the forest, or all of them, because they all had doubles. They'll never waste Dan, Emma, and Rupert's time with that shot because you don't need them. So that's when they're at school. And then so you get all those shots done with the extras, and then you go down. So it's all shot listed, of course. So yeah, became quite good friends with him. I can't remember his name now. Richard, I think it was. I say good friends, while I was on set.
Proximal friends,
yeah,
exactly. Where you're there.
Yep. Yeah, we sort of, because most people don't talk to each other on these big sets. Everyone hangs in their cliques. Luckily, stills department was crew 1 for whatever reason. So crew 1 is the top crew. So you're there, so I'm in the cafe with sort of Alan Rickman sitting next to me and stuff. And I was just like,
well, I guess you're so key to the promotion of the whole thing.
Sort of.
Stills a big part of.
Yeah, it's still a hustle for him because cameras are getting so good they could take stills from that.
Right.
They're not as good, and the frame rate's not as high. So obviously, the still within a movie is, because it's only 25 frames a second, might have a little blurriness to it. Whereas Murray's will always be pin sharp, and now 50 megapixel. But he was still hustling to get the shots.
Right.
He's still there with the director going. So, for example, that shot of Tom Cruise hanging on Mission Impossible, low to the ground, looking directly at the camera, or where I don't think he's down the barrel, but that would have needed to be done just for the stills, right? So you can imagine there's a whole setup to make that shot happen, right? So he's up there, he's coming down, he's stopping, he's hanging. It's Tom Cruise, he's hanging from all these ropes, and it's taking 100, take 27 to get it. Now they're running behind schedule because it took too long and they need to get Tom to the next studio to film this other bit. Stills get thrown out the window, man. So Murray has got to convince the director for them to do one more take. Just for him. Yeah. It's not the director going, I think we should do a stills one now. He doesn't give a shit. Like, director wants to direct a film. So he's there trying to be buddies. And
quite stressful.
It's weird, like he's sweet-talking the director at lunch and trying to make friends with him and things like that, so that the director can go, right, Tom, we actually need one more, please. Can you go back up and drop down so that Murray can get his stills? But it doesn't always happen because, especially with the kid actors, at 7 o'clock, chaperone would come in, drag them off
done.
set.
Yeah,
you're out. Oh, we just 1 more minute, please. No, sorry, you're out.
That's fair.
Yeah,
makes sense. So 2 years there, 2 years, working on.
Yeah, I was still at Snappy Snaps at the time.
Still at Snappy Snaps.
Yeah, so even when James and I started the business together, I was still doing maybe 3 days a week at Snappy Snaps. He was working at Kodak Express in Camden while we tried to get more jobs. And then we got into music photography as well a little bit. But we just weren't getting the jobs in, really. We were too young in hindsight. Too ambitious, I guess. Unrealistically ambitious for our age. Because now, if I was hiring someone for a catalogue shoot, they would have to have a pretty good portfolio to be that young, really. Right. Because you just don't have the experience.
What were you, mid to late 20s?
Yeah, mid 20s, really. And there was no Instagram back then, but the people we sort of found out that were in our industry, they were all in their 40s,
Right,
okay. They got good experience and good portfolios and networked a lot and stuff. So I remember once, so on the side we did weddings and corporate headshots and things. And then a friend of a friend asked us to photograph their kid at school, because I think they're at nursery school, because if the photographer had pulled out, and I think an email went out to the parents saying, "Oh, do you know a photographer who can come in to do photo day?" So we were like, it was 100 kids, and we went in. We were like, "Oh, we don't want to do it, but you've asked, and we, okay, we'll do it." Went in, white background, 2 lights, boom, 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 100 kids. Didn't think anything of it. Created some contact sheets, sent them to the school. It was all pay by check back then. Tick the photos you want, and this is the price per photo. Write a check to us, and we'll collect it. Leave it at the school, and we'll collect it in 2 weeks' time or whatever. So 100 kids. Took us a day to shoot, and maybe not even a day to shoot, but probably a day and a half of all admin. Went to the school, and she gave us an envelope. It was fat envelope. I was like, "Whoa, what's all this?" She's like, "Oh, it's all the orders." I was like, "No." Anyway, we freaking counted out. We've made like $2,500. I was like, "What? That's ridiculous." I was 24 or whatever. I was like, we can't have made that much money just for like a day's work. And anyway, we're like, huh. So then James is from Jersey, so we were like, I know a lot of the teachers in Jersey. Let's just try and see if we can just photograph like 4 or 5 nurseries there. And then, and if each one makes us $1,000, at least we got $5,000 for the year, and that'll help, that'd pay our rent. Not quite pay our rent. I think it was £700 a month rent for us in that 1-bed flat. And we were like, yeah, let's just do that. So we went and photographed these 5 nurseries. They all said, yeah, because they all remembered James from being a kid there. And so we got in. It was easy. And yeah, and again, we earned, probably more. I think it was about £20 a kid photographed, I think was the maths.
It's crazy now. You're about to learn, by the way. Yeah. The hustle is only like in terms of the amount of money that I've spent on pictures of my kids.
Yeah.
That of course, then every year you need to get a new one.
Absolutely.
You need to get a new 2 because you got the class one because they want that. And you've got the
Yeah, and we were doing digital then, so we were quite early on that stage. So we were offering for £50 all the photos on a CD. So that boosted up the averages. But no, we'd call it £20. So if we photographed 100 kids, it'd be $2,000 at least. 50 kids is $1,000. So all of a sudden, we're realizing, this is easy money, man. And as a young 20-year-old, all of a sudden, all the creative jobs were like, hell no, not doing that. We're going to go photograph some crying babies. And that was the downhill spiral, I guess, the start of it anyway, where we just landed up going full tilt into the school stuff.
Right.
Thinking it would give us enough financial freedom to go off and do the other stuff. But actually, it just took all our time away. So we had no time to do the other stuff anyway. And yeah, fast forward till just before I gave it all up, it was 7 staff, an office, everything.
All focused around
just
school
schools,
and
just schools,
nursery.
Yeah. So
you famously sold for £1.
Yeah, sold it for £1, yeah.
Yeah, why?
2 things. One, James was my best mate. Didn't want to ruin our friendship over money. And secondly, it was my metaphorical flag in the ground that I wasn't going to do anything just for money, purely for money ever again. We all need to eat.
Yeah.
Nursery is very expensive.
Oh my God, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, you've forgotten those days, mate. Jesus.
That was your flag in the ground. Like,
yeah,
at that
just
point,
you need to earn, but chasing the money wasn't satisfactory. There's no end goal to that ever for anyone, I think.
No, I wholeheartly believe it. And again, everybody I've spoken to for this speaks about financial security. And once you've got financial security and you feel like you can breathe, that's the goal for most people. I've spoken to those people that I want millions, I want $1 billion, and ultimately I just think they're chasing the wrong thing. Look at your life, look at what you need, financial security for you, and then you can make decisions that aren't motivated by money that will lead to it anyway. And I always say to my team, I want to make money and I want to have fun doing it. That's it. If I can make money and have fun doing it, then we're golden. And then you get to make good, fun, kind, creative decisions rather than money motivated, hardline, difficult decisions.
Yeah, but it's difficult because people get into debt early on in life nowadays, and getting out of that's hard.
God, it is not easy for people.
Yeah, and you need a lot less than you think you need, for one.
Yeah.
So that's always something. I lived on a boat for years, and I lived such a simple, good life on a boat, to be honest.
Where was that?
In Worcester, on the Severn.
Oh, you're on the Severn, were you? Oh, okay. In the selling of your business, was that to go to anything?
No, I just went out. I didn't know what I wanted.
Felt trapped by it?
I just hated it. Yeah, I just was just not happy I just turned 30. I just turned 30. And that may have been the catalyst. My girlfriend at the time dumped me, was a catalyst. I just sort of was like, something needs to change. I can't, but I didn't know what. I just knew I couldn't carry on doing what I was doing.
What I love about that, Sean, is a lot of people now, and I'm 35, I wanted everything as soon as I could physically get it. As soon as I could achieve it, I wanted it. You weren't even doing the things that you're very well known for now until you were in your 30s. I think I saw a photo the other day of Morgan Freeman, and he didn't get into acting until he was, or, you know, his breakout role was when he was 50 something.
Yeah.
But we all know Morgan Freeman, right? So
yeah.
I think it's important just always to say life isn't always a straight path to this early success that gets touted by the media very quickly, very readily, because 19-year-old makes 20 million on YouTube is a great headline, but that's just not a reality.
Yeah, and then also, what are you going to do when you've got it all at 25? You know, it's like you've got another 60 years to live.
You'd hope, yeah.
You know?
So you didn't know what you were going to do?
No, but I sort of knew I wanted to go traveling because I never had this gap year option, as it were. I wanted to go traveling, didn't have any money to go traveling, so I thought if there was a record, some sort of world record, maybe I'll get sponsorship. So I was sort of, in a roundabout way, got into the records because I was skint, and I needed the record to warrant someone potentially giving me some sponsorship money, because they weren't going to just do it for me to go la traveling, right? It scratched that itch I didn't know I had. Like, trying to go for the record was something that excited me a lot, and I didn't realize it.
How did you first get to that thought? The first thought, right, I'm going to get out there. Because it was on the bike, wasn't it? That was your first? I
had cycled Land's End John O'Groats already, so I'd done that in my 20s, and then I enjoyed that.
What made you do that?
I always used to take a month off holiday.
Right.
A month off every year in the photography in the winter. Or, it's like January, February, March, April, when it was quiet. So I pushed this one to April, the end of my sort of the time I could take away. And again, I was a bit skint, so couldn't go abroad. And, I couldn't go away for a whole month for the money I had. But I could stay here for a month and do something here. And I just stumbled across, and I don't know why or how, I don't remember, this thing called Land's End to John O'Groats, which I'd never heard of, but it's the two furthest points you can travel to on mainland Britain. Just once the idea came into my head, I was like, I'm going to do that.
So did you do that solo?
Yeah, I was going to, initially my thought was maybe walking it.
Right, okay.
Because it'd be cheaper.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have done it in a month. So then I was like, I can do it on a bicycle. Like, I can definitely cycle it in a month. So, yeah, a little bit more expensive, I guess.
So there was something, though, from an endurance perspective that you didn't think twice about your capability of cycling.
No, cycle Land's End John O'Groats a month, you need zero physical ability.
Really?
Oh, no, that's
okay.
30 miles a day, It's
okay.
nothing.
So you can...
So, yeah, anyone can do that over a month.
Right.
In fact, when I finished, there was this couple in their late 60s. They're like, have you just finished the jog? I was like, yeah. How long did you take? And I was like, 25 days. And you? They're like, 14 days. So, the record's 2 days.
Really?
41 hours, I think.
How hard was it trying to find sponsors to believe in you and help you with your idea of, do you know what, I'm going to do some traveling, but I'm also going to break a record? And what was the record?
The round the world bike record. Yeah. So I got lucky. I got very lucky. I found a company that gave quite a lot of money to a specific charity. And I knew it was my mate's boss. So that's the first thing I did is I emailed all my mates and said, any of your bosses into cycling, will they sponsor me? And then I found out that this company gave loads of money to a specific charity. So I went and said, right, well, I know you give all this money to this charity. Why don't you give me some of that? And I'll raise money for the charity and I might even do better.
Yeah.
So
what was the charity?
Solar Aid, providing solar lamps for people in Kenya mainly, so they could get rid of their kerosene lamps.
Who was the company?
Uswitch.com.
Okay.
Yeah, the energy comparison website. Yeah.
I've just spoken, my last episode was with Hayley Parsons, OBE, who created Confused.com, the first ever price comparison site.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then she went on to create Go Compare.
Oh, wow.
So it's really weird how there's always little bits. So I love how things are interlinked.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So they were very supportive. So that went well. Yeah. They gave me the funding to, buy a bike and do some training and stuff. So yeah. So it was very much the old school days of like, well, I might get in the newspaper. Yeah. I'm going to raise money for the charity you want. So that was the big angle, of course. You get to use me in PR and stories and things like that. And, we can do press releases and, there's a bit of corporate social responsibility boxes you guys will get to tick. You get some marketing boxes and stuff and logos and things like that. I don't really know how much they made use of it there back in because I was sort of cycling around the world. But, the big one was the charity side of things.
Do you feel like you got the experience of traveling because if you're attempting a record at the same time? Do you feel like you got what you were after, what you were hankering for in that travel?
Yeah, or more so. Yeah, I hate traveling. As in, I hate just the concept of aimlessly wandering, experiencing new things. No, I need to have something to chase. I'm terrible on holidays. No matter where we go, I just need to do something. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy meeting new cultures and trying new foods and all that sort of thing. But I get bored pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I always have to have something. Yeah, I loved it. It's sort of like I did a wine tasting travel version of the world. Like if you go wine tasting, let's say someone puts 20 little bits of wine in front of you. You don't get to the fourth one and go, "Oh, I'm going to stop here. Give me a bottle of this one." Yeah. You carry on, right? And then at the end you go, "Well, I like that, and that, and I'll get bottles of those." So that's what I did on my round the world cycle. Basically,
that's a lovely analogy.
A little wine taster of each country, and I'll go back to the ones I liked.
I've heard you say it's about the 4 types of records.
Yeah.
So you've got. Let me see if I can do this. So you've got the fastest.
Yeah.
Furthest, the most, and the first records. You've done now all 4, or you hold records in all 4 of those. Do you want to speak to each of those and what it means to you?
Yeah, so it's sort of... Firstly, I thought there was only 3. First, furthest, and fastest. And then when I thought of that, it was around the time... It was probably just before swimming the length of Britain.
And that was the year after...
my round the world, yeah.
Around the world, yeah.
So I'd somewhat thought of trying to get a fastest record. Well, I had. So when I cycled around the world, and then after that, I came up with this thought that there's actually other types of records, and I think there's 3 of them: first, furthest, and fastest. So I thought, right, well, let me try and become the fastest to swim the length of Britain, and it turns out no one had attempted that, so that went from a fastest to a first. So I did that in 2013. Then went straight on to do the world's longest triathlon, so the furthest everyone has ever travelled on a triathlon. So I did that in 2016. I ran Land's End to John O'Groats to Land's End in 2015, and then that became the first. And I'm still the only person to have done a Land's End John O'Groats triathlon. But I sort of didn't really count that because part of that was the only reason I did that was because I did the swim, and the swim was my first anyway. So I did the world's longest triathlon, then I had the fastest one to get. So that one took me a few attempts. So I'd failed the round the world. Failed the round the world. I tried Route 66 record. I actually tried the Europe record once before, and then eventually on the second attempt got the European cycle record from east to west to east even.
Just on the round the world, you were hit by a driver as well, right?
Yeah.
So I mentioned I spoke to James Cracknell, who in 2010 was hit 65 miles an hour as he was attempting a cycle, swim, run, row from California to New York State. And you were hit too.
Yeah, 50 mile an hour. So he was hit by a wing mirror. I was hit straight from behind. And,
as in they hit your...
Hit back wheel, hit the back wheel. I went straight up onto the windscreen, Yeah, I don't remember anything, so it's all good.
So you blacked out?
Yeah, just fully unconscious.
Were you wearing a helmet?
Yeah.
Jesus. So where was that?
In Arkansas.
Right. Did you hear it coming?
I don't remember anything. I don't remember that whole morning. So, yeah, there's a whole 12 hours of my life that I don't really... Almost 24 hours of my life I don't really remember. I remember going to bed the night before. Then I have vague memories of things, but I don't know whether they actually happened or it's just me sort of remembering other days that were similar. Because every day I'm getting up in the dark and leaving a car park. And so...
I mean, does that still have an effect on you? Any injuries or any...
Yeah, my back. So I've got T11 compression fracture. So I've got messed up back a little bit. So...
The driver stopped.
The driver was amazing. He stopped, admitted fault, and checked it up on me in hospital and all that. So yeah, no. And to be fair, I was on a road you'd never cycle on.
Really?
I was allowed to cycle on it, but you wouldn't ordinarily have chosen to cycle on it.
What kind of time it would have been?
It's like 6 a.m. or something. It was dark still.
So it was still dark.
Still dark. He had done that drive every morning for 50 years or something. He was a baker, and you've probably never seen a cyclist once in 50 years. So, but
culmination of
just and it was raining, so my rear light. There's a traffic light ahead of me because I went back to the spot where I got run over to carry on cycling around the world from that spot. So yeah, I remember there was a traffic light ahead. So at night, wet road, red traffic light, my red light. You just got lots of red in the reflection of the road, in the water. Red in the sky because of the light, windscreen wipers. There was a big tornado the day before, so I'd actually had a good sleep. So I cut my day short to to miss the tornado. So
I mean, to your point earlier on, you said that the divorce maybe helped you become a tiny bit more stoic.
yeah.
You've got quite a stoic attitude to this, which
Well, I don't remember it, so like
that's the thing.
It's just someone else telling me the story. You know, it could have happened to anyone else, and it'll be,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, it was difficult to deal with because all of a sudden the record was off. Because there's no way I could have carried on with those injuries.
How far through were you if we're talking like percentages?
4,000 miles in of 18,000, so just under a quarter. In 23 days or something. So I was on for sub 100 days, I reckon.
And what was the record?
It was 160 days, but then because Alan Bate, who did a partially supported ride, and to his defense, he was trying to get, for years and years and years, he was trying to get Guinness to differentiate between a fully supported ride, or a supported ride and an unsupported ride. And Guinness said no, and rightly so, there's too much grey area. So eventually he submitted his, and literally like, must have been a few weeks before the record was 150 days, Finn Cox, because he did submit. And then Alan submitted, and it took it down to 120 days. Yeah, about 120 days. Like, Alan was strong. Yeah, all of us who were in that race were sort of, the goal was sub 100, I think.
Right. So it was a race.
Yeah, there was 12 of us all starting at the same time, all from Greenwich. And yeah, first one around the planet. Yeah, it's quite a cool idea, actually, which Vin Cox came up with the idea. And then Mike Hall, he sort of took it on and you know, made it what it was, I guess.
How did you feel going from that, I guess, corporate world of snappy snaps and kids' pictures? Like, did it feel right to be?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So straight away you took to it.
Straight away, I loved the training. I loved the planning. I loved all aspects of what is now my job. Yeah.
Do you think you're just this genetic freak?
No,
or do you think anybody can do it?
No, anyone can do it. You just got to want it. Yeah, I was tested. I went to the same labs as the Brownlee brothers and stuff. And yeah, and there's nothing special about me, but genetically, or biologically, I should say.
But mentally,
yeah, I don't know. I just wanted it.
Have you ever really assessed that? Really looked at it, like where your drive does come from?
Yeah, no, I don't want to look into it.
Why?
Well, because I might find the reason, and then maybe I'll try and fix the reason. Let's say it was because I had this traumatic bullying experience when I was a kid.
And did you?
I don't know. I've not looked into it.
but you don't remember a
No, I don't
traumatic
remember.
bullying experience?
Yeah. No, I don't. There's nothing I remember. So anything that could be fuel for the fire will have been some subconscious thing. Whether it was my parents getting divorced, or whether it was boarding school and being away from home, or was it some episode of bullying that I don't remember.
Are you really comfortable in your own company?
Absolutely, yeah. Love it. I never get lonely.
It's really funny. You say you
Don't
don't want to analyse something, because for years I thought there's aspects of, you know, why I wouldn't want to self-analyse, because for exactly the same reasons. It's like, okay, well, I feel like I'm doing okay. And if I'm doing okay and then all of a sudden I recognise that thing and I try and fix that thing, then does that change my trajectory? Does that, does that take me away from what effectively was an angry kid pointing in a direction, thinking, right, here's a cycle to break, and I'm going to do it. Genuinely thinking those thoughts at a young age, thinking, right, I'm going to be different, and here's how. I have thought, I've worried over the years that, you know, what if that dissipates? Because that whole thought of, I mean, are you happy?
Oh yeah, but I don't chase happiness either.
You don't chase happiness?
Yeah, absolutely not. No, I don't.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, happiness shouldn't be a constant.
Yeah,
like it's an odd thing to chase that. I do completely agree. But you know, that notion,
and also I think people mix up happiness with joy.
Yes, they do. I think joy is brilliant. You know, find joy in tiny things, in little things, in everything. But you know, to try and chase happiness as a goal, as a constant, is an odd thing.
And also, but I'm also not very good when I'm like massively happy. I get lazy. Yeah,
you don't strike me as a lazy person.
Yeah, sure. Just like I lose the fire for training. I don't train as much when I'm like, when everything's going well and, you know, money's coming in with sponsors and talks and books are selling well, and which is most of the time, to be fair, but it's the times where all of a sudden I've got a big project that needs funding and I got to finish writing a book. Like, I thrive on those things. Like, that's when I'm getting out of bed excited and I feel like I'm getting more out of life that way. So yeah, I'm sort of, the terrier in me needs to chase things.
Do you think, is there an ego there?
Oh, of course, there's a bit of an ego. There's the, you know, getting an acknowledgement from your peers. You know, everyone wants that. Having your kids potentially say they think you're cool one day, which I've been reliably informed it's never going to happen. But
As I say, might think I'm the least cool person in the whole world,
exactly.
and that's okay.
Yeah, and there's some weird metaphorical scenarios in my head in 100 years' time where my great-great-grandkids are still getting beer money for my book sales, like I quite like that thought.
I was going to speak to being a professional ultra athlete. Is that how do you describe yourself?
Well, weirdly, I'm actually a non-professional ultra athlete. I'm professional in a way that I do it full time.
A career?
But but actually I'm not part of an organised body of athletes.
Good delineation, I guess.
I don't enter races on the professional circuit.
Sure. No, thank you for that.
So weirdly, yes, it is my profession, but I'm sort of a full-time non-professional athlete because I'm not part of any professional organisation or join any professional. Because when you become a professional athlete, you get race. You get your accreditation and all that sort of thing. I don't have any of that.
This gives you the flexibility to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yes. Yeah, but that's not the reason. I'm good at the long stuff. And no one else has bothered making it a professional sport yet. Because I see why, because not many people do it. Like I did and just to show you that, a good example of the diminishing sizes of people, I did a double iron 2 weekends ago. And so there was a half, a full, a double, and a triple. It was probably 100 doing the full, 25 did the double, and only 5 did the triple. So you sort of quartering the number of people who do something every time you double the distance, almost, like as a rough guesstimation. So all of a sudden, when you get into the really long stuff I do, there's probably 3 people in the world to do it. So
it's hard to make that a professional, competitive. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's about the records for you.
It's all about the records, yeah.
So is legacy massively important in that sense?
No, 0. I don't care at all. Except I do like that.
Which is, again, a lovely thought. And I think there's a lot of people out there that might look at their lives and think, I'm sick of it. This isn't what I want. To your point about you with the photography company, this isn't what I wanted. And they could potentially look at you and think, well, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. What would you say to those people?
If you think that, then you're right.
I really like that.
And I'm very bad at motivating people who don't want to do stuff. Like, go to Goggins. Like, if you can't get out of bed every morning and feel motivated, like, I'm not your guy. Go to Goggins, follow him, he'll sort you out. Once you feel like you can get out of bed and you want to turn up, then come to me.
So do you do any motivational speaking or anything like that?
Yes, yeah. And those are people who've decided to come to me already. I'm not there. I'm not shouting at people to kind of get out of bed each day and, look in the mirror of whatever he calls it. Goggins, he's got that mirror, doesn't it? You look in that mirror, man. Are you fat? Say you're fat. Admit you're fat. Go and do some bloody exercise. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not that crass.
Yeah. So you feel like you're great at motivating yourself.
I'm very self-motivated, hugely. And I sort of don't get, I really don't understand people who aren't.
Right.
And I'm not saying you have to be on the whole time, but, just have a goal, have a long-term plan. Don't be in a rush, and that plan might change, I'm on my 5th musical instrument I've tried to learn in life, and I've given up on all of them. But you know what? I think maybe music's not my thing. You got to want to do these long, hard things. You got to really want it. Like, it's so miserable and it's so difficult, and you're putting your body under so much stress for so long.
Was there a financial freedom that came as a result of you doing these long?
When I finished Swimming the Length of Britain.
Right.
Overnight changed.
What happened then?
Yeah.
What changed for you?
Everything came to me. All of a sudden, Google was saying, come talk at our offices, and Microsoft and Lloyds Bank and Sky TV and Discovery Channel came to me and said, look, can we make a documentary about your next thing, whatever it is, we don't care, just do it. Book agents came to me and be like, all right, here's some money, write a book, here's some money, take some money, go and write a book. So all of a sudden, overnight, I went from being so poor I couldn't even get to the start of that swim. I needed 200 quid. I didn't have 200 quid. So I had to go to the bank, and that was just to put diesel in my car to drive to Land's End, and my mum was going to drive the car back. Yeah, I went from there to all of a sudden, book deals and TV deals and agents and managers and all these sort of things pretty much overnight. So
was it on that you grew your beard?
On the swim, I grew.
On the swim. How much do you think brand and having a noticeable, obvious brand help?
Like, it's a talking point for everyone. I think the beard got too big at one point, and then I just became this weird, like I was just too weird, I think, for a lot of brands, because I sort of looked at my beard length, and then it's weird, like when it was really big and the hair was big and the beard was all over the place, I think I just became a little bit unrelatable. I just became this
become
weird,
a caricature of yourself.
yeah, this weird crazy guy with a massive beard, and I didn't see it. It wasn't on purpose.
No,
No,
I'm sure
I
it wasn't.
just didn't cut it. No, there was no goal of trying to have this big, and I'm sort of just like, my hair grows pretty quickly anyway. I remember I look back at pictures now, and I told Caroline, I was like, "What? Why did you let me do that? Like, what? Why you tell me to cut it?" Yeah, so there was no real thought process around it. It's just sort of if I shave, I get a rash.
Right.
Even just with the clippers shave, if it's too short, I get a rash. Yeah. So the beard. So I did grow the beard there, and it became a thing, I guess.
It's an identifiable
yeah,
aspect.
yeah,
isn't it?
but
It's
it
an
wasn't
aesthetic
something I didn't
marker.
sort of go like, well, this is my brand now, and I need to always have a beard forever and ever and ever. I probably will have a beard forever and ever and ever because, as I said, I'm lazy and I get a rash if I cut it short. Yeah, I think people think it was this just master plan to differentiate myself from everyone else, but
Brilliant. Not everything needs to be quite so planned.
yeah, no, it just is what it was, and I like it. I like the beard now,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine life without it. To be fair, if I'm honest.
I bet you feel that actually. But this
Well, it goes
length,
in my mouth, so like when you breathe, it folds up onto my mouth. So.
Christ. So you're there. Things have changed. Media, as you said, publishers. Had you written anything before? Did you have any designs on being a writer?
It's weird. When I finished cycling around the world, I was like, oh man, there's so many people who've written around the world books. Like, what's the point? Like, I'm not going to bring anything new to the table. I didn't get the record. I didn't go out for years. I didn't really speak to anyone. Like, oh, this is going to be a bit crap. Like, no one's going to buy it. And then Dave Conway, a friend of mine, said, mate, don't write it for other people. Write it for your future grandkids. And I was like, bloody hell, mate. That's brilliant. And that's what I do now. Because there's zero financial reward to writing books. Almost.
I know. I've had a book published. It became, it's very popular in and around PR. I know. Don't you worry. I get those checks. It came out in 2017, and I get the royalty check now. It's the only one I've done. I think you've got 6 now.
I've got 6. Yeah. I've written 7, but I've got 6 out.
What's the 7th one?
It's a guidebook. It's up there actually. It's called World Cycling Stripped Bare. It's outdated.
Right.
Basically, yeah. So I unpublished it.
For me, in my industry, I was told it's an 80,000 word business card.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful way of putting it, I think.
Yeah, I
I think
like that,
for you, it's slightly different in that
No, it's better. Like, I mean, I'm sort of probably selling myself a bit short, to be fair. On good months, all my book sales will pay my mortgage. Yeah. Brilliant. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good, to be fair, for me. But that's still not, it's not the, hundreds and thousands that some people make writing books, but it ticks over.
I don't even know if the industry is that anymore. I think
audiobook sales are huge now for me.
Yeah, they're good for you.
Probably twice as much. So 2/3 is audiobook, I would say, and 1/3.
And you read your own
paper. So I do on one, and I didn't get the choice on the others. Annoyingly,
same. What's wrong with this slightly West Country voice?
I only found out I had an audiobook for my Round the World Cycle book when someone tweeted me and said, just listen to your audiobook, mate. It's brilliant. I was like, I have an audiobook? Like, publishers didn't even tell me. They were just like... Crazy. And then I remember messaging them, and they're like, I'd love to do my own. And they're like, no, we have contracted in-house people. So
and, the person that did mine, perfectly lovely.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree. And the person who
and they do a great job.
They've done a better job than I could have done.
Almost certainly.
I think the consumer now will forgive a shit performance if it's you.
If it's real.
Yeah, exactly.
It's you. I remember listening just to a bit of it, and I thought, that was supposed to be a joke, and the inflection takes it from a joke into just a straight statement.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just
absolutely.
small aspects like that.
Yeah. So anyway, there's 2 that I've been given the option to read, but it's quite hard to get Audible to change it. I need to look into it. If anyone knows how you can change an audiobook on Audible, just to change the audio files. Yeah, basically
from a narrator to you.
Yeah,
narrator.
so someone's just changing the narrator because obviously it's got reviews and and it's linked to a paperback that's out there already.
Yeah,
I've not looked into it. It's probably the best part of £1,000 to read a book, right?
Yeah,
of studio time. So I'd want to go into it knowing that it can be done. So I don't want to waste all that time and money reading one of the books and then Audible going, sorry, we can't change it. So I need to.
Makes sense.
Haven't had time really to look into that, but no, I love it. I love writing, and as you say, I have all my books now in our downstairs toilet. So whenever I go for a piss, there they are looking at me, and I go, "Oh, that feels good."
I guess now you're in multiple, you've written multiple books. Yeah. The fact is, they know that you can do it. They know that you can deliver copy on time. They know that it's going to be good.
But they're also looking at book sales and going, well, actually,
yeah,
this is all we know we can earn from you now. So, because, in the early days, I remember that my deal for my first 2 books was way higher than it should have been, to be fair. Because they were just like, oh, well, he's swum the length of Britain and he cycled around the world. These will sell very well. And they've sold well, but I don't think they've sold as much as they thought. So any deals I go into now, they sort of look back at my history and go like, oh, well, you're only going to earn this, so we'll give you a grand advance.
So you eventually did cycle all the way around the world?
I did, yeah. Just a bit slower than I was hoping.
I mean, for me, I guess because I've always looked into that ultra, clearly I'm never going to do it. I mean, look at me, I'm a lump.
You don't want it, mate.
I don't want it. You have recently finished a new world record.
Yeah.
And the new world record is 105 Ironman triathlons in 105 days. And the record stood at 101.
101 was the record, yeah.
To put that in perspective, I've done some quick maths. That is the equivalent, from a miles perspective, of just shy of 15,000 miles.
Sounds about right.
An Ironman triathlon is swim 2.4 miles, cycle 112, which most people won't do in a year.
Yeah, maybe.
Cracknell said in his episode that 80% of people don't walk a continuous mile in a year.
Shut up.
That's a genuine stat.
Really?
During a year.
God,
so only 20%
crazy.
of people do that. So,
wow.
I mean, he's speaking specifically to nationwide obesity rates and his interest in politics being specifically around the idea of trying to do something about that. So that's over the course of the 105 Ironman triathlons, 252 miles swimming. How long is the length of Britain?
The swim, 900 miles, I think.
900 miles.
Yeah.
11,760 miles cycling, which, okay,
quite a lot, I guess.
That's quite a lot. There's quite a few. 2,751 miles running.
Nice.
So, again, just shy of 3,000 miles, which I believe is America.
Across America, yeah. If you go lower down,
that's 14,763 in total. To put that in perspective, Sean, that's about as many miles as I drive in a year.
It's probably more than I drive, to be fair.
I guess, with work, I'm here, there, and everywhere. But you have almost 15,000 miles in 105 days. 25,000 miles around the Earth's equator.
Yeah.
You've done 60% of that in just over 3 months.
Probably gone from here to Australia or something.
Yeah, there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I've not really thought about that. It's quite cool, eh?
I just thought I felt like somebody must have come to you with the stats at some point. I've tried to listen to other things. I haven't heard anybody come to you with those stats.
Come with me with that.
Now, there are other podcasts that you've done recently. There's lots of interviews around this. It's a monumental achievement. It really is, and it's something I couldn't even imagine. So doing one of those, most people can't imagine doing one Ironman. It's a big thing already to do an Ironman. A very small percentage of people ever will. So to do 105 is, of course, absolutely incredible. You could have stopped at 102. Yeah. Why didn't you?
I wanted to do 103 because I wanted to see what it was like doing one, knowing I didn't have to do it. And then I was feeling good-ish, as good as you can be. But I sort of got into my rhythm of, right, well, I know it's going to be painful, but I know if I just turn up, I can do it. And then I just didn't want to quit because that felt like a failure. If I'd quit, it was me going,
I've only just
giving in, So, but I couldn't carry on too long because it wasn't fair on Caroline and the kids. And so I just flipped coins until the coin said stop. So, and that was a nice way to end. But I could have carried on. I had numbers and caps printed up to 123. Yeah, I could have easily gone to there, but it wouldn't have been worth it. So,
have you ever read the book The Dice Man?
No.
You're aware of it,
though, yeah.
You know of it.
Yeah.
So it's just funny. It's strange. Is that what your life's going to be now? Just
probably.
Making decisions based on random chance.
Yeah. No, that one sort of, there was a lot of thought going into that. When I was in the 90s, as in when I was hitting day 90 something, I spoke to Caroline. I was like, I'm feeling good and I think I should carry on. And she was like, well, I'll support you, but the kids want you home and it's hard. And once you got the record, you got the record.
Yeah.
And also sort of 90% of me really wants someone to break the record. 10% of me wants me to hold it forever, but only 10%. 90% of me sort of has no business in trying to keep that record forever. So
I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Dean Conez did the 50 marathons in 50 days, right?
Yeah, in 50 states. Yeah.
So when you think of, you've done that 105 days in a row.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, there's a limited number of person who will want to do it because most of the world doesn't even understand it. You know, when you say, "Oh, I did an Ironman," all they know is that, "Oh, that's quite difficult."
That's why I wanted to bring numbers to it, because I think, again, there are lots of, and that's to my point about interviews with you, there are lots of people that can speak to you on that physiological, kind of elite, ultra level. I don't think that's me. I think, and please do go and listen to those. They're fantastic and really give you an insight into the pain you put yourself through, the incredible amount of torture you can put your own body through. But more than that, the mental strength of it all. You know, what I'm interested in is genuinely the why. It's the, what gets you up every day to do that to yourself.
I had to.
Because you said you would.
I said I would, yeah. Well, once I say I'm going to do it, everything that I need to do it becomes a non-negotiable. So when you leave the house every day, you put your clothes on. You don't question
mostly.
it. Yeah, mostly. I've seen your OnlyFans.
You're the one.
Yeah, I'm your one subscriber. And brush your teeth. You brush your teeth. You put your clothes on. Like, it's a non-negotiable, right? So, yeah, I'm the same. So everything I need to do, getting up 4:29 every morning. Not once in 105 days did I wake up going, I don't want to do this. Not once. And I don't really have an answer of why. Just so ingrained in me that that's what I do and that's what I have to do. I know the long-term plan and I've got a system and I need to follow the system and there's no deviation. You know, if you're a pilot, when you get onto your aeroplane, there's a whole bunch of safety checks you got to do, right? You don't not do them. Like, you don't question whether you need to do them. Because if you don't do them, you might crash later. And I was the same. Every day I had to do all these things that eventually led to me finishing a full iron distance that day. And then I had to do them all over again the next day. And that was just life.
I think you've spoken about possibly your next book might speak to some of those.
Yeah, there's 10. There's now 11, I think. I keep adding a few more to this ever-growing list of endurance. But if you want to get good at multi-day endurance challenges, and when I say good, you want to compete. You want to compete at a high level. You want to not get injured. You want to be fast. You want to beat other people. I'm not just talking about going on a long holiday. This is like doing good distance, good mileage, good times, operating your body at its peak, and getting the most out of your body. There's now 11. Although it still might go back to 10, but anyway, we'll go with it. There's planning, experience, fitness, health, nutrition, hydration, muscle management, motivation, sleep, community, and then the last one I've added recently is discipline. But you sort of have to be disciplined on all of them. But I might throw that in there as its own. It's a
good umbrella.
Its own
for each
thing,
of those.
yeah. So, but you've got those 11, and every day you've got to smash all those 11. And if you don't, you'll be behind where you could have been that day, whether it's on time, on distance, on speed, on pace, on PBs, or whatever.
I think many of those principles apply to not just endurance as well, right? I think
I guess
possibly
so.
That's
Yeah.
If I think about if you're starting a business,
Yeah.
Many of those things hold true for that or any goal that you might have.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because people might scoff at the notion that hydration's important, but isn't it? Or sleep's important.
Yeah, sleep's important, but then, so the only slightly difference is, for the most part, everyone says, you need to sleep. Most people, need to sleep more than they think they need to, probably. Mm-hmm. But sometimes in endurance challenges, like when I did this double iron, there's no way I could have, I needed 8 hours sleep in the middle of that, but there's no way I would have lost the race. Right. I wouldn't have made the cutoff. For the end of the race, 42-hour cutoff. If I had 10-minute nap in the middle, and I did a 40-hour. And I waited for my cousin a few times, and we did it together, and he was a bit slower than me. But still, maybe I would have done a 35-hour. So if I'd had an 8-hour sleep in that night in the middle, I wouldn't have made the cutoff. So there's more elements to the sleep, corner of that pie chart than just the right amount of sleep. Because the right amount of sleep for a specific event may be still way too little sleep, but the right amount of sleep may be no sleep. So it's a strategy you just got to look into. Like, right, I'm doing a double iron. Will I need some sleep? I might need some sleep. Hopefully I won't, because then I'll be ahead and I'm not losing time. But if I am sleepy, then I'll do a 15-minute nap. And then you just factor that in. And that's, on that sleep strategy, that was as most as I was ever going to do. 15 minutes. So
Is 15 minutes enough to give you what you need?
Yeah.
Really?
Fix my sleepiness. So it was about 5 a.m. when I was really like swerving on the road. It was dark. I was like trying to keep my eyes open, trying all the tricks, like looking up and left and right and getting wind in my eyes, and it just wasn't working. So I just literally went off the road. 15 minutes, woke up, boom, on my own, didn't no alarm or anything. I set an alarm just in case I overslept, but yeah, woke up and yeah, all the sleepiness was gone for the next 20 hours. So yeah, all the way through till 11 o'clock that night.
Wow. I guess most people don't physiologically test themselves in that way to know that 15 minutes would be enough, because that surprises me.
Yeah, and it's not always enough.
No,
it mostly
no.
is. If you've been sleeping well in the nights leading up to a race, and then your race is roughly 40 hours long, let's say, as long as you've slept well in the days leading up to it, 15 minutes in the middle of that usually is enough. But then you got to be careful because, there's the tendency to have caffeine at around 10 o'clock at night, because you'll start feeling... I didn't feel any sleepiness until about 3 in the morning, and then I held it off until about 5, and then I knew, because I thought maybe I could hold it off until the sun came up. When the sun comes up, it fixes you a little bit. But yeah, I just thought, right, I've wasted more, time peeing. So 15 minutes, I might as well just have a nap.
Important thing to say as well is, I think it's weird when you come to interview somebody and you tell them back what they already know about themselves. So I'll be doing, in the intro, I'll be giving a good kind of broad look at, I knew you'd done a lot, but I didn't know you'd done as much as you have. As to the challenges you've put yourself
most of
through.
It. Like I went through my website the other day and I was scrolling through my...
It's a long time
achievements.
scrolling.
Like, oh, wow, yeah.
And on your site, actually, that's what
I've forgotten about that. It's like, forgot I ran across Iceland once. It's like such a small thing. I'm just like, oh yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's so. If you were to put a number on it, how many challenges have you put yourself through? Dozens?
There's got to be about 20. 20 that are worth talking about, that are maybe, have taken me a week or longer.
You've got it on your site in a really lovely way. You've got successes.
Yeah.
You've got hiccups. And you've got dreams.
Yeah.
Let's speak to each of those things. So successes, what do you consider your most successful challenge to date?
Well, all of them. If I plan to do something and I succeed at it, it's a success.
Amazing.
The most difficult one that I've achieved was the 105 Ironmans. Yeah, that was hard. Swimming the length of Britain was also hard because I was cold the whole time. And it was long. It's a long time to be cold, 4.5 months. So it was longer. But the Iron 105 was the hardest. So that would be the one that... I probably annoy my grandkids with, being like, I once did 105 full iron distance. And they're like, shut up, Granddad, the record's 500 now by that Kiwi guy.
Where did you do it, by the way?
Where?
Where?
So I swam in a pool here in my local town, and then cycled down towards Cheshire where it's flat, and then ran on a byway around Chester, so along the River Dee. So
lots of local support then?
Yeah, it was amazing, yeah. And that was the community element of the pie chart was incredible.
And you were running for a charity?
True Venture Foundation, yeah, supporting mainly. We're starting off, I say we because I'm pretty much volunteer full-time for them. Starting in North Wales, focusing on swim, cycle, run, triathlon. And then the goal is to expand the different type of sports that the foundation gives money to, and the area. So it's North Wales only at the moment, but we will expand. True Venture has a pot of money, and they just want to give it away. That's as simple as that. So people can apply for funding to them. And there's 2 types of funding that they'll give. The most common one, and the bulk of the money, will go to youth clubs. So if you're a youth club and you need money for XYZ, putting on an event.
Youth clubs in North Wales.
In North Wales. So if you're a youth club in North Wales, let's say you're an adult triathlon club, but you want to start a youth division, but you need to pay a coach to come in once a week. You put that funding request through, and then True Venture will look at it. And then the second bit of funding will be youth athlete grants. We're looking for a few athletes to give regular income to, sort of like almost like a monthly wage. Not a lot, but enough for them to maybe fill their car up with diesel to drive to events and stuff like that.
That would have been nice, wouldn't it, for you?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I could have done with that. So maybe there's a bit of money that they'll get each month, and then the idea is it'll be a 3-year commitment from True Venture to give them this funding every month or every year, once a year, whatever them.
Is there any limit as to the kind of athlete Or
At the moment, swim, cycle, run, triathlon.
right.
But I don't think they would say no to someone if they feel like it's going to a good cause. So
If somebody wanted to look into that funding, where would they go?
So it's only happening from January. So they go on to the trueventure.org.uk in January-ish time. Or on my social media, I'll be pushing it hard because obviously...
You raised 70k, was it?
So we raised about 100 grand.
Wow.
Which came in a mixture of just people giving me money for the challenge, and then some corporates have thrown in a big chunk of money to support specific athlete grants, for example, rather than going into the club thing. So,
and on that note, do your sponsors, do they sponsor you year round, or do they sponsor you per?
A mixture. Mostly I will go in. So for the Ironmans, I said, right, well, I'll tell you what, support the Ironmans, and then I will, go into a deal with you for about 12 months, so 6 months, a little bit before, during, and then about a 6-month period afterwards. So
I guess they're the income streams, aren't they, for somebody that does what you do? It is books, it is speaking.
Speaking, and sponsorship. Yeah, those are the three. Yeah.
So, successes we've spoken to. Hiccup, what's the one that sticks out to you?
I don't know. They've all been pretty crap, to be fair. But I've learnt from all of them, so they're all pretty good. But
hiccups, we should say, are the ones on your site where you say you didn't quite achieve them.
Yeah. So I'm pretty good at bouncing back, eh? So like my round the world cycle, that was a big one because that one I never got to reattempt. Whereas the injury I got from running the length of Britain the first time and bailing on that, I reattempted that. Reattempted my Europe ride when I got injured on that. Reattempted the Iron 105 when I got injured the first time on that.
We haven't even talked about that. The fact that you attempted the Iron 101 at the time, the 102, the first time round. That must have been incredibly difficult. Coming out of COVID, coming out of lockdown, all of that stuff, all the training to then get to attempting that and then to get injured.
Yeah, no, that was hard. But I learned a lot. My route was a bit crap on that course anyway. Even though I had, by day 7, so I got injured on day 5, I came off the bike. And then it was just a minor little tendon pull. And then it just got worse and worse. And then it got to a point where I was just too slow and I missed the cutoff. So it was game over. But so I'd already sort of changed my route. And you've got to think on your feet with these records. You've got to be ready to pivot and change direction, and when things get thrown at you, just you make a plan and you go a different way. And so yes, my original route was terrible, but I'd already changed it. And my fitness, probably should have been a bit higher on the old fitness. My swim and my bike were one of the quickest on that last day. On day 7, my run was the slowest because that was the injury.
Just to put it in perspective again for people, that it's hard to find something relative. Ironman triathlon takes you how long?
So there's a 17-hour cutoff, but it was taking me about 14 hours, which, if anyone wants to beat my record, that's your goal, 14, yeah.
There you go.
You need to be able, and you need to be doing that in zone 1 heart rate, maybe the bottom end of zone 2, 110. 110. Yeah, that's my average was 110. If you can do those two things, if you can do a 14-hour in a zone 1 heart rate, then it's sustainable. So that's the fitness level you should be aiming for, yeah.
Dreams. What do you want to do?
Yeah, there's quite a few I've not put on the website because I want to. Some dreams you should keep to yourself.
I agree.
And yeah, it's cool. There's a couple of ones. Caroline and I just keep umming and ahhing about going off for a year before the kids are at school proper, and living on a desert island or living on a boat for a while. But yeah, I don't know. I quite like my home life. I like my little hobbies, and
it's a beautiful place here. It really is.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'd be good just wandering around the world on a yacht. I get bloody seasick, but I feel a bit aimless. I think, yeah, it sounds cool and it's a cool story, and maybe that's enough. To be fair,
yeah,
maybe that is enough, and it'd be, maybe it'd be good for the kids, but maybe it wouldn't because they might not remember it. I have a mate who spent the first 2 years of his life on a yacht. His parents were sailors. He doesn't remember any of it. He is a sailor now, to be fair, though, so it obviously had some impact.
I think with what you do, it's hard because it's harder to get bigger and better with your challenges.
It is hard, yeah.
Like it's always got to be something bigger, and if it's not, then it's not as good as that.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that pressure?
Yeah, yeah. It's not pressure coming from anyone. It's my own pressure.
It's your own pressure.
Yeah, because I want to get bigger and better and faster and stronger and do harder stuff.
Because again, you're 42.
Yeah, so I've got time. So I've got another 15 years, I reckon, of doing the long stuff.
What do you want to achieve? Is there anything that you look at and think, I need to have a go at that?
Well, I know I've won the wife lottery when, like, this genuine conversation we had a couple of weeks ago. It's been nearly 2 months now, and I don't have to think about anything for another year, really. It'd be 2025 before I do anything else. And Caroline, she was like, oh, yeah, I wonder what you should do next. I wonder, maybe you should run around the world. I'm like, right, who are you seeing on the side? What's his name? Why do you want me out the house? Yeah, that would be cool, eh? Yeah,
that would be incredible. A long time away from the children. I guess they'd have to come in.
I wouldn't do it for ages. Like, if I do that, and see, the difficult with something like the Round the World Run is there's no real record for it.
Has anybody ever done it?
Yeah, Rosie Swale Pope, and she dragged this like what basically is a caravan which you can sleep in. It's a 1-bed caravan, so fully enclosed, and she dragged it behind her and she put all her food and stuff in it. If I did it, there would need to be high level of physical sort of element to it. So, because anyone can run around the world. If you go, I'm going to run around the world, it's going to take me 3 years. I'm like, well, that's easy. Well, it's 18,000 miles divided by 3 years as toys. Anyone can do that. Whereas if you've
got the time,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can do it pretty cheap. To be fair, once you get out of Germany, it's dirt cheap, and then Australia's expensive, and America's expensive, but most of the world will be pretty cheap.
Do you think that when you say anyone, do you mean anyone?
Anyone able?
Anyone with a body can do this. But
yeah, and of
from
course,
a mental perspective, I don't know that anybody can.
I know people might not want to do it.
Yeah, but anybody physically could.
The ability side is fairly straightforward, especially if there's no record. Because if you get injured, you can just sit out a month. And I would want to do it in a way where, people look at the maths and go, "Blimey hell, you ran 50 miles a day." So 50 miles a day is a year. So that's 18,000. That's 360 days.
Sure, I feel like you've already done the maths on this.
Absolutely. I do the maths on all these records. Yeah. The Round Wales run record, that's up for grabs, I reckon. That's 19 days, so that's 47 miles a day. Yeah, I got that in me, I think. But then it's a trade-off. My kids are young.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be away for that long? I'm already lucky that I scratched a lot of itches pre-kids. Swimming the length of Britain with a family would have been hard. Cycling around the world with a family would have been hard. The other stuff was those two, especially because they were much harder. Even my world's longest triathlon at the time, that was 85 days, I think.
Was that 4,000 plus miles?
4,200 miles, continuous triathlon. Yeah, so that was 80-something days. Like, again, that would have been hard with the family. All the other smaller stuff.
Did it help with the 105 that you got to come home?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was chat of me not coming home.
Right.
There was chat of me... I could have done my swim nearer the run start and run end, which meant there was chat of me renting a little flat down by the D, and I could have done it because there's a different pool I could have used, which would have saved me. I spent 40 minutes in a car every day, which was 40 minutes I was not sleeping, or eating or stretching or doing a lot of recovery I could have been doing, right? So yeah, there was that thought. And then also there was, by me being out of the family system, maybe it would have been better for the kids. But actually it was good that I came home. My youngest didn't really know, didn't care. He's too young. My oldest, I was sending videos to the school to play at assemblies, so at least he knew Daddy was doing something cool. And, everyone at school was super excited about Monty's dad doing the 105. So yeah, coming home was good.
What does success look like to you?
Just achieving what you set out to achieve.
As simple as that.
Simple as that. Have a goal, and if you reach it, that was a success.
What about personal success?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Nothing more kind of heartstring tugging than that. Nothing family orientated. Nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I want to be a good dad. I want to be around for my kids. Like, then I'm a success. I want to be able to put food on the table and be able to teach them things that I've learned along the way. So
does that motivate you when you're in a dark moment?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
So when you're when you are on day 95 and you're hurting, that is like what do you reach for?
I don't really reach for anything. It's a non-negotiable that I do what I do. So I don't need a lot of like.
You don't need that intrinsic drive.
Myself to go, why are you really doing this, Sean? Blah, I don't need any of that. I just don't. And I don't know why. And I can't. People have asked me, and they're wanting this like really clever answer that's going to help them when they're in their dark moments. But like, it's so ingrained in me just to turn up and do what you need to do. Like,
Which is what possibly does get me to not everybody could do it.
yeah, maybe.
Because that is it's a unique mindset.
Yeah, and
shared
maybe I
by
don't appreciate that.
fewer than 0.1% of the population, I would imagine, that you can do what you do.
I don't know, man, because I still think loads of people could do it. But maybe you're right. Maybe there's this bit of my brain that doesn't get affected by certain things and then allows me to just carry on. I'm very also practical. When things aren't going right, I'm analysing it massively. Like, why am I down today? Why is my pace down? Why am I feeling crap? And I look back at all those 11 things. Is it my motivation? Is it my sleep? Was it my nutrition, my hydration, my planning, the community around me? Am I having a bad day? And I overanalyze it. So that takes my brain space. And then, it's very rare I had one bad day on the Iron 105 when, I think it was around day 30, I realized, they gave me the total that we'd raised for the charity. And I think it was only at $2,000 on day 30. I'm like, are you joking? My mate did the London Marathon and raised $5,000. Like, what? I've done 30 of these already, plus the swim and the bike. And then Caroline just had a terrible day with the kids. And then I had a little bit of like athlete guilt where I was like, well, what's the bloody point? I'm not raising the money for charity that I was hoping to do. Putting my family under a lot of strain for me to just go off on this whimsy, self-indulgent, thing for my own personal gain. No one else is gaining from it at the moment, it seems. But then I just knew, right, well, I'll turn up tomorrow and it'll be fine. And then it was fine.
You can choose to be that bit more positive, I guess.
Having a system
and
trusting the system and following the system. So it's not like, tomorrow's going to be amazing, man. Let's do it, man. Let's make tomorrow awesome.
You went back home, you listened to Goggins.
Yeah, I listened to Goggins.
You pulled yourself together.
Got my mirror of perspective, whatever he calls it. Yeah, no, there's not even that, really. And I do try and think of why it's like that.
I think that it's healthy to be obsessed. And I feel like, again, the binding thing between everybody I've spoken to, curiosity, yes, obsession.
Yeah.
Obsession with, for you, it might be adhering to the things that get you to the goal, which is, to your goal of success. Earlier on, you were talking about the cameras and you're talking about, this is the best one, this is the best one. You just knew that because clearly you're curious enough to learn and there's an obsession, obsessive aspect possibly to learn enough about that technology to just on the spot say, this is what we need right now.
Yeah,
and this is the best in the, this is the best in the market.
Yeah. When I get into something, I get into it heavy.
It's
just deep end.
It's just good. It's this,
exactly,
and not I don't know, drug dealing.
Well,
right?
exactly.
You'd be the best drug dealer there ever was.
Yeah. Or like boxing, where I'd probably be punch drunk already.
Do you think?
Probably.
Yeah. What is the hardest thing you've had to overcome that wasn't a challenge?
I'm pretty good at dealing with anything that comes my way. So things come my way and it's difficult. I'm quite resilient and resourceful and level-headed and stoic. So that's good. But I think the thing that I will struggle with, and I don't know when that time will come, but all of a sudden my ambition will outweigh my ability. So I think that's going to be something interesting to deal with. And I don't have an answer for that. And I'm hoping by that time the ambition will go and I'll just be content with what I've done in the past and appreciative and feel lucky that I got to live the life I did doing all these long things.
You're not content now?
Nah, sort of. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I'm very proud. Like, I got my little my brag wall there with all the newspaper clippings in front of you and everything. So I'm very proud of the stuff I've done, don't get me wrong. And the terrier is fed at the moment.
But that's because you've just done something nobody else has done.
Yeah, exactly. But in 2 years' time, that's not enough to keep the terrier happy. The terrier has to go and chase something again. So, and I don't know, at some point, that becomes unachievable when the thing I want to chase, I am physically unable, just from a purely biological point of view, able to do it. It may never come, because my mate Dave, Decker Dave, just won a Decker Ironman. So that's 10 in a row, continuous. He won it outright, out of everyone, and he was 64. So
that's what I was thinking as you were talking then. I was thinking, well,
so I've got time.
If you look after yourself in the way that you quite clearly do, why
Well, yes and no. I look after myself, but I also hammer my body.
You do hammer your body.
Yeah.
You
So-
do. Pretty much, actually, everybody I've ever met.
You know, I was doing 90 hours of Zone 1 training a week for 3.5 months. You know, there's zero recovery. Well, I say zero. I was getting 10 hours recovery every day, which is quite a lot, to be fair. There could be a point where I just sustain an injury that's just, like all sportsmen and women, at some point, you're not going to be fast anymore. Or you won't be able to go as far anymore. And that's just life. I don't know. I'm loving working with the charity, with the foundation. I can see myself being the world's most annoying PE teacher. So, yeah, there's stuff and I love writing. I've written one fiction.
I was going to ask about that. Is that your children's book?
The Chronicles of William Wilder.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, my oldest son, Monty, his 2 middle names are William Wilder. So I just wanted to write a book for him. Basically.
Why Wilder?
I get a free pass on any weird name for the middle names. That was the deal.
What's the other one?
So Sebastian's his wild card is Huckleberry, which I don't think that's wild, but Caroline I had a free pass. So for Sebastian it was between Huckleberry or Dragon.
Right.
Yeah. Caroline was cool with it, man. I told you I won the wife lottery, man.
Well done.
So
congratulations on your singular.
So she got the first name. I was happy she could go with whatever first name she wanted, as long as I got a little weird third name.
Yeah.
Or second name. So yeah.
And the book itself.
So yeah, I wanted to see if I enjoyed writing a fiction book. See if my imagination A could do it, B if I enjoyed going down that rabbit hole of just making things up. And it took a while. It took like 1 or 2 chapters to really realize I could do anything. If I wanted him to all of a sudden turn into a giant, that doesn't happen in the book, but I could do that. Yeah. Then all of a sudden I was like, this is the best thing ever.
I think people tell themselves stories about, like, you know, I'm a pragmatist, I'm a realist, or whatever, and then you just realize imagination's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real book, to be fair. There's a time machine thing in it, and that's only at the end. Yeah, other than that, it's a fully real book that you could. It's based in Cuba. It's on Amazon, and I like it. It's my publishers were like, dude, no one's going to read this book. It's for 10-year-old boys. They're outside climbing trees. 10-year-old boys don't read. I'm like, I don't care. My boy will read it when he's 10. And so, yeah, again, it was just a project, like a hobby, basically. Mm-hmm. I almost treat writing as a hobby because I really love it. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy all aspects of creating a novel. I love the format of a novel. In the written form, as opposed to a blog post, for example, or a news article, or a newspaper, or a magazine. I enjoyed writing it. I loved working up with the designer on the cover.
Will there be another? Or?
Yeah, so there's a sequel that was meant to be out like 2 years ago, but I just not at the time. And now the Iron 105 book will be the next book. Mm-hmm. So there's a sequel to that,
which I saw people can pre-order, by the way,
on my website.
On your website,
yeah.
You can go and pre-order that, and I don't doubt it's going to be brilliant.
And then I'll do the sequel to the William Wilder book, which is called The Adventures of Nora Knight, and the book's called The Kalahari Queen. So, and it's literally the sequel to that. So what happens at the end of the William Wilder book will be the start of the Nora Knight book, and William Wilder will be in that book as well. There's going to be a third book, and I think it's called Sebastian and the Dragon. So obviously I've done a book for my eldest. I need to do a book for the youngest. So, and it might be a slightly younger book, Sebastian and the Dragon, a younger age group, but still a reading book. You know, a kind of book that maybe I would read to Monty now and in bed.
So we're talking about 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. So yeah, life's pretty good. So I can't complain at all. I get to train most times of the day that most people are at their desk. Yeah. I treat this as a job so that I can still be a dad, and I do the school run in the morning, then I do some exercise in the day, and then I go and pick up the kids at school.
Annoy you with podcasts. It's been amazing just getting to know you better, getting to understand why you do it. As I say, it's endlessly fascinating, and I'm not sure people will ever truly understand. Maybe you'll never truly understand why you feel like putting yourself through that.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see, nonetheless. If people want to follow you, where can they find you?
Just search my name on the socials, Sean Conway. You'll see a hairy ginger bearded guy there. So
yeah, if I can help in any small way through this, then I'll be very, very happy to have.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, very, very kind.
Cheers, Sean. Thank you for your time.
Anytime, mate.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
been It's been really, really cool.
Yeah, really good. Nice one.
Cheers, man.
What a man. What a man, what a man. No, I won't do it to you. I won't do it to you. Cheers, Sean. Thank you very, very much for inviting me into your man cave. Adorned as it was with memorabilia and trinkets and books and your brag wall, as you call it, and just, it's pretty cool. So no, thank you. Really, really appreciate that. I hope you've enjoyed it and got some measure of the man, the enigma that is the ultra endurance athlete. And at 42, Christ, he's got years left of doing incredible things. So a privilege, an honor. Thank you very, very much, Sean. Really appreciate you bringing me in. And I don't know, maybe at some point I'll come and join you on a an Ironman or two. If you can keep up. Cheers, everybody, for listening, reviewing. 5-star reviews help keep us moving up the charts. As I say, we've been doing some of that good charting stuff. So thank you very much. If you've just come to this from Sean's social media and you've not listened to the Starting Line podcast before, hopefully that was a good intro to what we're doing. You can follow us at Starting Line Show on pretty much everything. That's TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. Facebook is the Starting Line podcast. What am I missing? Twitter is Starting Line Show without the W. You'll see it. Go, ask me questions. At some stage, do you know what I might do is at the intro, outro of the next episode, I might answer some questions, or maybe if there are enough, we can dedicate some social media content or an episode even at some stage to it. As I say, this is the episode 10 of a proposed 12, and then we're going to take a break during which we are going to be recording episodes in video as well. We've got a great list of people already set. I'm very excited. You can follow Sean at Sean Conway Adventure on Instagram. You can follow him at Conway_Sean on Twitter. And he's going to have all the other things as well. Just search Sean Conway and you will find his lovely ginger bearded face. If you want to email us for any reason, that's hello@startinglinepod.com. The website, startinglinepod.com. Maybe you've got a question. Maybe you want to sponsor us. £1 million a series. Fine. Or maybe you just want to say hey. Thank you again. Until the next time. Have a lovely week. Speak soon.